Hello and welcome back to the 3-day mindful eating reset, and today is day 2. So yesterday we looked at mindful eating, which is basically eating with awareness, and we also looked at emotional eating because a lot of us, particularly women, myself included, tend to eat for reasons other than true hunger. We use food as a partner, as a mother, as a friend, rather than as a fuel, which is what it is. We've turned it into something that really it shouldn't be. And today we're going to talk about snacks, because I would say snacks is the one area where we tend to emotionally eat the most. We tend to eat mindlessly. So if you improve your mindful eating, if you're much more aware of the reasons why you eat and how much you eat and what you eat, if you tap into the emotions that you feel before you start eating, that will help you with your snacking. And I would say the number one reason I see people put weight on or not lose weight is because of the snacking that they do. Because it tends to be like the odd slice here, or the odd muffin, or the odd packet of chippies, or the odd handful of nuts, we see that as just being a handful of nuts. What we don't look at is all of them put together. If you actually put all of them in front of you and you saw what you ate snack wise in a day or over the weekend, you'll realize just how much you actually eat. And I've seen time and time again where clients, when we look at how much snacking they eat, all their snacks together is the equivalent of having another dinner, which you're not going to lose weight if you're exercising a certain amount, but you're eating twice as much and you're not burning it off. You're not going to lose weight, and you're going to put weight on. Certainly, I know for myself, the one time I know when I tend to put weight on is when I tend to snack. And a long time ago, I was working in a children's camp. It was like a summer camp, and I was fairly active. I was in my early 20s, but it was a management role, and I was doing a lot of admin stuff, sitting at a desk, and there were boxes of chippies that had arrived for us to give out to the kids, and I was just eating my way through these chippies as well. And I was probably eating about 4, 5, 6 packets of chippies a day, particularly because they're little and there's like 10 chips in them and they don't really fill you up. And I ploughed my way through that. And after about 4 or 5 weeks, I put on a stone, and I was thinking, what am I doing? I'm not, my breakfast, lunch, and dinner's exactly the same. What's going on? And then I realized it was because I was sitting there eating my way through these chippies because they were there, because it was something to do while I was working. And so I stopped eating the chippies and I lost the weight. And that's all I did. So, and I see it time and time again where the snacks can be the difference between losing weight, maintaining weight, or even putting weight on. So we're going to look at the pros and cons of snacking. We're going to get you today to do I'm going to give you a snacker tracker. So you're going to track the snacking that you do and the moods, the emotions behind the snacking. Because we tend to, as I said, snack without really thinking sometimes, or we snack because we're fed up, or we snack because we're bored. Snacking and alcohol go together. If you have a glass of wine or a beer, it might be that the chippies come out, the nuts come out. And so again, you don't always know just how much in regards to calories that you're eating. And when we eat food that's calorie dense, that has to be stored. If we're not burning it off with exercise, it's going to get stored, and it will get stored as fat. And then I will give you some healthy snack recipes that you can then have a play with, so that the times when you really are truly hungry, you've got some ideas of some healthier versions of snacks to eat. So pros and cons of snacking, and there are some. So there are about 3 pros that I would say. The first one is that it can help you to balance out your blood sugar. So when our blood sugar takes a bit of a dive, then we can suddenly feel a bit weak. We might get a bit headachy, a bit dizzy. We find it hard to concentrate, to focus, memory. And so a snack can actually raise our blood glucose. Really important. If you're studying or you're learning or you're thinking, sometimes we need a bit of a boost. So a good quality carbohydrate might help with that. You've got to be really careful, because if you're feeling a bit kind of wobbly and you have low blood glucose, and then you're going to have a muffin or a chocolate, you're going to have a kind of a high of energy, and then you're going to crash and then just feel terrible again in an hour or two. So Sometimes a really good complex carbohydrate, one that's fiber rich, is going to be better for you, or even protein fat type carbohydrate too, because some proteins will actually break down into glucose too. So there are better snacks to have when you feel a bit wobbly and your blood sugar level might be low, rather than reaching for a chocolate. And the other thing is that it can help you overeat, or it can stop you from overeating. So if you have lunch at 12 and dinner's at 7, that's quite a long gap between the two. And if you're absolutely starving when it's dinner time, you might eat twice as much at dinner and overeat because you're so hungry. And you eat really quickly, so your brain and your tummy don't have a chance to talk to each other and say, well, that's enough. So that can help you. And the other positive is it can actually help you get some extra nutrients in. Again, depends on the type of snack. So, having a piece of fruit or some vegetable sticks or some nuts and seeds, a really good way of getting your omega-3s or a little bit of protein, some calcium, magnesium, zinc, fiber. There's a way of getting those extra nutrients into your diet without having to worry about increasing the amount that you eat at breakfast, lunch, or dinner. So there are positives. The disadvantages of snacking is really, one, the type of snacks that we tend to eat. So they're generally high calorie, high energy. And if we don't burn that off, it's going to get stored. So they tend to be really high in fat and carbohydrate. They tend to be high in salt and sugar because they taste nice. So we're going to put weight on. And as I've said, a lot of clients that I've had, when I've looked at add all the snacks together, all of the calories equal the same amount as a dinner a lot of the time. So we have to also know that even if we eat lots of healthy snacks, that's still calories, that's still energy. It's going to be stored unless we burn that off. So it's going to lead to weight gain. Highly processed snacks will increase our blood sugar rate quickly. So you get that high, woohoo, feeling really great. And then you're going to get a big crash where we feel tired and yuck too. And then sometimes we need another snack to give us a bit of a boost. So you end up with a roller coaster effect of, feeling great, eating something, feeling great, crashing, eating a snack to feel good, feeling good, then the blood sugar crashes and then we crash, and then it's just like a big roller coaster. So that's not great for us either. And then obviously those high amounts of the saturated processed type fats that are usually in snacks, plus the sodium and the sugar, will make us sick down the line. They're not good for us. We don't need those kind of nutrients, for want of a better word. They'll make us sick. The other thing is our gut doesn't like it when we snack. We're not physiologically meant to continuously graze. There is something called the MMC, or the migrating motor complex, and that basically cleans the gut. And it works like a Mexican wave, where it kind of comes up and down, and it's a really lovely wave effect of our gut, and it works every 90 minutes. Lots of things in our body works in 90 minutes. And when this MMC doesn't work properly, it will lead to an imbalance of your gut bacteria. So you end up with more of the bad bacteria than the good bacteria. You're going to end up with more inflammation, and you're going to end up with gut disorders. So as I said, it works on a cyclic basis every 90 minutes, and it relies on our stomach to be empty. So if you're constantly eating, then it's going to affect that process. It is most active at night. So that's why we fast at night, to allow the MMC to really kick in and work. But it also works during the day. So you can end up with irritable bowel syndrome, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, lots of gut issues, bloating, tummy ache. Can be because you're just constantly eating and your gut isn't being able to work the systems that it has in order to repair, reset, regenerate, and clean out the gut. If you get a rumbly tummy, sometimes that isn't because you're hungry. It's actually because the MMC is working. So then when we eat, we're going to stuff up the MMC. So it's really important that you know, when you do eat, it might be that you have some water instead of eating a snack because that won't affect the MMC. Make sure you chew properly. And obviously, if you're getting wind, then certain foods can make you windy. So you're going to have some chamomile or fennel tea. So sometimes those rumbles and that feeling isn't because you need to eat. So just be careful and have a drink of water or a cup of like chamomile tea or peppermint tea. Have something other than eating. So that's, I'd say they're the biggest thing. It's the energy, it's the type of food, the type of snacks that we eat that will make us sick in the long run, and the fact that it stuffs up our gut, because our gut is set up to every 90 minutes to clear through. And if we're constantly grazing every hour, it will actually affect how our gut works. So what you need to know is really what you eat will make a difference. It should not be, the snacks that you eat should not be a mini meal. And when I say a mini meal, I mean as in like protein, fat, and carbohydrate mini meal, but also in terms of energy. You've got to make sure that what you're eating energy-wise isn't the equivalent of a mini meal. I would say make sure you always eat a really nutritious breakfast where you have lots of protein, fat, and really good carbohydrates. And we should be really eating more carbohydrates at breakfast than any other time of the day, because that's when our insulin is at its highest. And insulin is the gatekeeper to our cells to let glucose in, so that we have kind of more of a stable blood sugar. And protein and fat will also make sure that our blood sugar tends to be more stable. So when we're constantly eating carbohydrates, that's when our blood sugar is going to be all over the place. So you need to make sure that you're eating a really good breakfast that's full of protein, good fats, and carbohydrate. I would say you're looking at around 20 grams of protein for breakfast, to make sure that your body can actually use the protein it needs to make the things within your body. Protein is broken down and then rebuilt up to make protein in the body. And when we eat that much, so our body's getting what it needs to function, but it means that you're also going to be filled up and you're less likely to get hungry and snack. If you just have a huge carbohydrate rich breakfast, you are going to be hungry in an hour. So make sure you have a really good nutritious breakfast. Make sure you drink enough water, because sometimes you might feel a bit peckish and it's actually because you're dehydrated. Portion wise, you're looking 600, 800 kilojoules per portion. So that's if you've got a snack and you're reading the label, you want to make sure that the label says that it's not over 800 kilojoules, because otherwise it's too much. And you know, some people, they're getting by on 800 kilojoules a day if they're trying to lose weight, and you're looking at a snack that's 800 kilojoules. You want fiber. So again, if this is a processed package and you're looking at the label, you want fiber of around 3 grams per 100 grams, and protein should be 5 grams per 100 grams as well. So have a look at that. That means at least you're getting the fiber, at least you're getting a good amount of protein. But the best type of snacks are going to be your fruit and veg type snacks. So let's have a look at this. So this is a way of being more mindful about the types of snacks that you're eating. So number one, if you don't keep unhealthy snacks in your house, you're not going to eat them. So when you go shopping, if you buy chippies, if you buy biscuits, if you buy muffins, you're going to eat them because they're in your house. So the number one thing is don't buy them. If you don't buy them, you won't eat them. That's if you're in your home. The problem is obviously when you're at work, or if you're at someone else's house, or if you live with other people and they bring snacks into your house. But if you are a person that does the shopping, you're in control of what you put in your cupboards. So don't keep unhealthy snacks in your house. Also, keep healthy foods at eye level and put unhealthy snacks away, because when we open our cupboard, it's exactly what happens in a supermarket. Everything that the supermarket wants you to buy will be at eye level, because that's what we look at and then we buy. We don't tend to look up, and we don't tend to look on the bottom shelf. And so brands will pay more money to have their tins of food or their processed food at eye level. The cheap stuff tends to be on the bottom or high up, and that's kind of usually, going to be better. So do the same thing in your kitchen. Keep healthy foods at eye level. So when you open the cupboard, the first thing you see is something fresh, something healthy that maybe isn't so packaged, and then you're much more likely to eat that. You know, things like your fruits and your veggies, whole grain crackers, nuts and seeds. Make them easy to see, easy to hand. So if you're really hungry, you're going to eat that. The other thing that I know works is to lock snacks away. And there's been some kind of research to show that anything that takes between 30 seconds and 1 minute to get to them, you're generally going to give up. So I tend to lock my snacks in my office. My office is on my grounds of my home, or I lock it in the boot of my car. And that's as much to keep it away from my kids and husband as it is for me, because it's such a palaver to then go and find the snacks and unlock the car or unlock my office. Then by the time I've thought, oh, can I be bothered? No, I can't. I'll have a piece of fruit instead. So lock your snacks away in the boot of your car, or in a garage, or in a cupboard. Make it hard. Don't make it easy. The other thing is that you can drink peppermint tea or use a diffuser of peppermint essential oil. Again, there's been a little bit of research, not brilliant research, but there is some research to show that the peppermint oil actually affects our appetite. So have a cup of peppermint tea, and say you're going to get some fluids from that. It's really good for your tummy, and you might find you then don't need to snack after all. And then be mindful about your hunger and your mood. Think before you snack, am I really hungry? Do I really need to eat? What am I hungry for? Am I actually hungry for food because it's been ages since I've eaten? Is it okay to be? It's okay to be a little peckish. We're in the 21st century. We particularly in the Western world, we seem to be scared to be a little bit hungry. It's like being hungry is a bad thing. When we were, millennia ago, we were used to being a bit of hungry. We were used to periods of fasting, and that's why fasting has now come back, and it's trendy because it's actually really good for us, because it's how our body works. Our body's used to fasting, but we're not, because we're in an environment where there's food around us all the time. So to fast and to not eat when you're a bit hungry, we've stopped doing, but it's exactly what our body needs. It thrives on that. So we need to be really aware. Are we really hungry? Are we starving to the point where if I don't eat something now, I know I'm going to overeat at dinner? Or am I just a little bit peckish and I can actually really wait if I have to? What could I do instead that would feed the hunger that isn't actually true hunger? It might be that hunger is I've had a really rough day and I need a glass of wine, or I need some nuts, or I need something, but actually what I need is a hug. Or what I really need to do is to sit down and have a lovely cup of tea, or a glass of kombucha, or some fizzy water. Or what can I do instead that will give me that time out, that will give me that, okay, I can relax now. That maybe I want to talk to a friend because I've had a really crappy day and I'm really upset, and maybe that glass of wine or that chocolate cake is a hug, when actually really I could get that from somewhere else, from someone else. Maybe I need to go for a walk around the block instead because something's happened and I just need to get something out of my system rather than using food to help me. Maybe I need to journal, write down what's going on. Why am I feeling like this? Why do I feel like I need to reward myself with cake? Or why am I stressed? And write about it. And maybe just releasing that will make you feel better. Maybe you just need a glass of water because you are thirsty and you haven't really drunk very much. So you don't need that glass of wine. You actually need some water. So really start to be aware of, are you hungry? What are you actually hungry for? And what is your mood? Are you eating because you're emotional? Is this kind of filling a gap rather than a hunger gap? Think about that. And then put your snacks on a plate. And if you can, depends on the kind of snacks, use your knives and forks. Because again, if you put your snacks on the plate, you're going to be much more aware of how much you are eating. So put them on the plate, don't eat out of a packet. And knives and forks will also slow your eating down, because we tend to wolf snacks down as well. And again, sometimes you might eat something you've not even paid attention to what you've eaten, how much you've eaten, and whether you even enjoyed it. So the next thing is to eat slowly. That mindful eating exercise practices with your snacking. Slow your eating down, chew properly, savor the taste, spend a bit of time looking at the color, the smell, the texture. You'll find you might not need to eat quite so much of your snack. A lot of the time, it's that first mouthful that's lovely, particularly if you eat a chocolate. And that's wonderful. And then we eat again because we're trying to get that first mouthful back. And then we have another one, and we can't, because it's that first mouthful is so lovely and dopamine's released, and we're trying to get that dopamine released again, but it won't be released to the same extent as it did in that first mouthful. So slow it down and enjoy it. And you might find actually you don't enjoy it at all. So start to be more mindful when you actually eat. And be really careful about being distracted. So turn off the telly, turn off your computer or your phone, eat at a table, don't eat at your desk, and focus fully on your snack. Because again, you'll start to be really aware of, am I enjoying this? Is this actually making me feel better? Have I eaten enough? How much have I really eaten? And it will just make you more aware. And awareness is really half the battle, because once you're aware, it becomes a choice, and the choice is always, always yours, and you have control about your choice. And remember that voice that I talked about, think about that voice, ignore that voice, play around, do the activity with the voice where you change the voice, you push the voice away, and know you have control. That voice is not you. That voice is separate to you, and you do not have to listen to that voice that says, like, you've had one biscuit, have the whole lot. You don't have to do that. So just remember that. So here are some healthy snack ideas. And again, everyone's different. It might be there are some foods you can't eat. There might be some foods you don't actually like the taste of. So it's really about, if it's not in a packet, it's probably going to be better for you. That's kind of the number one. So things like nuts and seeds are really good. You can get tamari almonds. You can actually make your own. So just buy some almonds, and I dry fry them and add a little bit of tamari. So that gives that kind of savory saltiness, but I do it on my own, in my own frying pan. So rather than it being salted and roasted, I'll do it myself in a dry fry pan. Buy some raw nuts and seeds, and you can do that in a fry pan. Some oven roasted chickpeas are really good. So you can use like a half a can or a whole can of chickpeas. You drain them, scatter them on a roasting tray, drizzle a little bit of olive oil, some spices, and you can play around with the different spices or different herbs. Roast for about 15 to 20 minutes until they're crispy. You can also dry pan fry them, or a little bit of olive oil and pan fry them too. I like them in the oven. And that gives you about 5 grams of protein and 4 grams of fiber. So it's really good, really protein rich snack, and fiber. So it's a really good alternative to nut seeds and chickpeas as well. So I really like chickpeas that have been oven roasted. 2 hard-boiled eggs is really good. That's about, depends on the size of the egg. Usually 1 egg, medium egg, will be about 6 grams, but 2 grams, so that's anywhere between 10 to 12 grams of protein in 2 eggs, and about 1 gram of fiber. So again, a really good snack to have. Cup of veggie sticks. There's some hummus. Again, hummus is really good. There's about 4 grams of protein, 5 grams of fiber within that. So just 2 tablespoons of hummus. You can make your own as well. And lots of different veggie sticks. So carrots, beans, broccoli stalks, some celery. I really like celery with peanut butter on, or almond butter if you don't like peanuts. Some fruit. Kiwi fruit is brilliant, full of vitamin C. So 2 kiwi fruit will give you about 100 milligrams of vitamin C, which is exactly what we need to saturate our tissues in vitamin C. So brilliant. Just 2 a day would be great. Or an apple. So lots of fiber, lots of really good plant nutrients in an apple as well. So try some fruit instead, and make sure you don't have any more than 2 to 3 fruit a day maximum. Edamame beans. I love edamame beans, and I like roasting those. So they're hot. You can add a little bit of salt. You don't want to have too much, but I love them. They're basically soybeans, but they're fresh soybeans, really good for hormonal women. Really good. Don't be scared of them, and they're really yum as well. Plain yogurt and berries, really good. So again, a cup of edamame beans will give you about 8 grams of protein. So really good. Plain yogurt and berries. If you really want a bit of sweetness, just add a little tiny bit of honey. Some crackers with some mashed avocado and tomato. You can make some really great seed crackers out there now. Some really lovely recipes. Or even a piece of toast with some smashed peas. I love, just boil up some peas and then crush them with a fork on a piece of toast. Add a little bit of feta if you eat greens, and some microgreens. have some places. Sometimes toast can be good. You can also use poppadoms. One of the things that I do is I make my own nachos, where I actually just get some tortilla wraps, and I cut them into little wedges, into kind of cut them into quarters, and then I cut them again, so they're in eighths. Put them in a roasting tray, a little bit of olive oil, and then I roast them, and then I've got the equivalent of nachos, but these are really healthy because they're not full of all the crap that you get from a bag of nachos. And then sometimes I use them for a meal, or sometimes I might have that with hummus. Or you can put some peanut butter, or your feta and smashed peas or avocado. You can use those just like you would if you've got a bag of them. So it's another really cool snack, and you can get gluten-free wraps as well that work really well. So there's lots of ideas. The PDF, I think there's a whole list of all sorts of different ideas. So that's just a few ideas. The PDF that you're going to get can give you some even more ideas. There is also the recipes. So if you email, I'm not putting the recipe book into the Facebook group. If you want the recipe book, give me your email and I'll make sure that you get a copy of the recipe book. So it's got sweet snacks and savory snacks in the recipe book. So your task is to, number one, do the snacker tracker. Start to be really aware of when you eat and why you eat and what you eat. Because as I said, when you start to be really aware of that, that's kind of the first step to really making a change. And make sure you post what you've learned, what your insights are. Use the hunger scale. So I'm putting the hunger scale into the group as well. And have a look when you're snacking, or even when you're just having a normal meal. Use the hunger scale to decide, where are you on that hunger scale? Are you really, really hungry, or not really at all? Download the recipes and have a play with some of the ideas. And if you've got any healthy snacks yourself, post them. And maybe if you're not sure about a snack, whether it's healthy or not, let me know, and I'll tell you. If it's a packaged food, let me know the nutrition panel and the ingredients, and I will tell you whether it's a healthy snack or not. But generally, if it's in a package, it's not going to be that healthy. If it's a natural whole food, then it probably is going to be much, much better for you. And you know that. This is nothing new. But really, it's about being mindful. So remember, I love this quote: I can't control everything in my life, but I can control what I put in my body. And never forget that. You absolutely have control. So one thing we have control of is what we eat and what we buy. So have fun. Let me know how you get on, and I will see you later on this evening.